The Houston Astros are at Seattle Safeco Field as they open a 3-game series with the Mariners. The Stros are riding a 5-game winning streak and send Lance McCullers to the hill to keep them rolling. Hi, everybody. Alan Ashby and Jeff Blum with you. It's been fun watching this club turn it around, that 5-game winning streak, 6 out of 7 right now, right after the losing streak. Colin McHugh, a big part of why they were able to keep it going yesterday.
Yeah, if you watch that game, you didn't think McHugh was going to end up the way he did, but battled his tail off, extended that game, allowed the offense enough time to get those runs and get to that bullpen.
You got to get the pitching, but you also need some offense, and the offense has been dealing. They kept it going yesterday.
And they're beating up on some teams that they should be beating up on. You saw it at Minute Maid, how they put up some big numbers against the Seattle Mariners and Colorado Rockies, and then you put that offense in Coors Field, and you expect these numbers to be a little bit inflated, and they took absolute advantage of some of the pitching they saw and that spacious ballpark that they were able to drive the ball out of. It was fun to watch.
So we flip back to the pitching side of things, and one of the key cogs on the pitching mound for the Astros has been rookie Lance McCullers, and in his last few starts, really dynamic. In fact, last time out, a no-hit bid. He went just 5 innings, but he was going strong and maybe not with his best stuff.
Yeah, you kind of hope the youngster figures out that throwing 90 pitches in 5 innings, you got to stop doing that. If you want to extend these no-hitters and have a chance to actually finish off a no-hitter, you got to get a little bit deeper into the game. But still, fantastic stuff from the young guy coming up out of the minor leagues, showing that he's proven to be maybe a 2 or 3 in that rotation for the Houston Astros. He's got that electric fastball, but he's figuring it out. And don't discount the fact that the kid is supremely confident right now, facing a team that he did no hit for 5 innings last time out.
Coming up, the Carlos Correa Show is earning rave reviews and setting box office records through the first 10 games now in the big leagues. And he's already touching base with both Astros and Major League royalty. Julia, tell us about Carlos' latest brush with greatness when we return.
Are back at Safeco Field. Back in Seattle, looking for their 6th straight win. And there's a couple of rookies on this Astros ball club who will be making their debut here at Safeco Field. One of those guys, Carlos Correa, the 20-year-old who's off to a great start in his major league career, hitting .349 in those first 10 games. We've been impressed at what he can do at the plate, going 1 for 4 yesterday, but 15 hits in his first 10 games is a new franchise record for the Houston Astros. Also, yesterday with the 3 stolen bases. That becomes the 2nd youngest player in the last 100 seasons to do so. He's behind only Ricky Henderson. So here's Carlos Correa with our Geico quote of the day.
Luke Brock was the symbol of great base stealing. But today, I'm the greatest of all time. Thank you.
We're just having some fun with you. There's Ricky Henderson, the best base stealer in the game. But Carlos Correa, with our Geico quote of the game, is here, as of course mentioned with Ricky Henderson there. So that's a big name when you say Ricky Henderson. He had a lot of stolen bases in his career, and he is obviously a Hall of Famer. To be behind him in that stat, it just means a lot. For Carlos Correa, A.J. Hinch said that he has the green light, and he is reading situations very well early on in his career on the base pass. Another thing for Carlos Correa, broke his leg last year about this time, and he said when he was returning, he wanted to prove people wrong, that he would come back not just as fast, but even faster, working on that game on the base pass. And so far, we like what we see Houston Astros do as well. Carlos Correa and the Houston Astros get set for this first game of a 3-game set with the Seattle Mariners. Lance McCullers on the mound. We'll get you ready with first pitch and lineups next.
Mariners getting set to open a 3-game series. They've already met 10 times this year. The Astros have taken 8 of the first 10, and you can see Jeff Blum's got his Star Wars heroes here this evening.
You have no idea how happy I am. The force is in the stadium tonight. Good stuff. Little man's got the right frame of mind.
Well, we had quite a first pitch here this evening. Last time out for these two clubs, they had the same pitching matchup.
Went pretty good for the Houston Astros. We know that. A little slice and dice down the line, but these guys were swinging the bat. Granted, they were facing the Astros, who were swinging incredibly hot bats, but they threw a lot of barrel finders in this one. Farquhar wearing that one from Luis Valbuena. Nice little hop and a skip, knowing he got that one pretty good, but the numbers are outrageous on the side of the Astros against these Mariners. There are some big numbers. You talked about those 10 games, Ash. 21 home runs in those 10 games.
21 bombs for the Astros. They've outscored Seattle by a load. And again, they're 8-2 against Seattle on the season, 19 when it's all said and done. Tonight's Astros starting lineup brought to you by Southwest Airlines. For the Astros, A.J. Hinch has George Springer back in the top spot, hitting .277 now, followed by Carlos Correa and Preston Tucker. The middle three, Evan Gattis, Chris Carter, and Domingo Santana. He's playing in right field. Hank Conger starts the bottom three with Luis Valbuena and Marwin Gonzalez. So we're set to go. Roenis Elias on the hill, and the first pitch, hammered deep left field. George Springer has hit the first pitch of the night into the bullpen area, and the Astros quickly lead it 1-0. Number 11 on the year for George Springer.
Good grief, Ash. I haven't even had time to stretch yet. This is what we were talking about yesterday, having this guy at the top of the lineup. Not only are you worried about him getting on base because he can steal some bags, he's been racking up the hits, but you make a mistake, he's going to ambush you and launch like he just did.
Now, 2 more home runs yesterday for the Major League leading team. They start with the first pitch of the night, George Springer, making it 1-0 Houston. And this club, again, leads the major leagues by a wide margin now in home runs.
Oh, yeah. Now what? Get to face Carlos Correa.
You know, you're sitting on that bench, and it's starting to become routine, and that's a really good thing. And Carlos Correa, as Blummer mentions, at the plate. 0-2 the count. That means nothing with this kid. Carlos Correa, on his season to this point, has been tearing it up. Hitting .349, 3 home runs, 7 RBIs already. He has 4 stolen bases as he shoots one down the right side foul. That's the first career leadoff home run for George Springer. Let him stay in the top spot for a while.
I was going to say, that's what you were thinking, the same thing. How long does he stay in that leadoff spot to get a couple more?
Well, that's a good feeling for a club that has been playing well. Strike 3 is called on Correa. That's the first out. It'll bring up Preston Tucker.
We've seen the good and bad from Roenis Elias, who's going for the Seattle Mariners. We talked about how he got beat up last time out. They're only going 3 1/3 innings against these Astros in Minute Maid Park, making his 11th start. That opponent average at .295 should line up well for those Houston Astros. The interesting part is to watch how these both pitchers adjust and both offenses adjust to facing these guys so closely in time.
Preston Tucker hits one to center field, not deep. Coming on is Austin Jackson to make the play. 2 outs in the first inning.
So he was playing around Safeco Park behind Elias. We just saw Austin Jackson in center. On the sides of him is going to be Seth Smith in left, Mark Trumbo in right field, Kyle Seager, Brad Miller on that left side, Robinson Cano out at second base, Lomo at first base, and Mike Zunino playing behind home plate.
And Evan Gattis gets hit by the first pitch he sees. He'll head on down to first base.
And he's trying like heck to play that off.
Gattis gets a chance to get back in there as the DH now. You think that hurts more than he's letting on? Oh, maybe not.
I don't know. I don't have to answer that question.
Yeah, I think he just responded.
Oh my gosh! Right off the looked like a wound right off the kneecap. Man, that's really going to slow him down on the base pass. No more triples today, huh?
There you go. Chris Carter stands in, singles into right field on the first pitch he sees. Gattis will stop predictably at second base. So that's the second hit of the inning. And it brings up the latest hero, Domingo Santana. 12-game hitting streak now for Chris Carter. And by the way, George Springer with that home run has added to his hitting streak. He now has hit in 12 straight. So this club that's been swinging it well just continues as they get started this evening.
Got a lot of action for 8 pitches.
Haven't even had a chance to talk about the standings in the American League West, where both of these clubs reside. The Astros are 40-28, 3.5 games in front.
Domingo with numero uno on his career. Got himself a hanging slider in that 2-strike count. It was a big home run.
Came up as a pinch hitter, and that was a big home run. Launched it the other way, and so Santana, who got his first major league hit just a few days ago, now comes up with that first major league home run yesterday. Maybe feeling a bit more comfortable in the big leagues. Well, we hardly settled in before George Springer launched. Santana takes a strike. It's 1-2. Santana can look up on the board right now and enjoy things quite a bit, hitting .500. He's 2 for 4 with that home run we talked about. 4 RBIs now.
I sincerely hope that home run and what he's been doing since being here could erase what happened last year.
You hope so. He's down on strikes here in the first inning. That does it for the Astros. They get a run on the Springer dinger. This evening at Safeco Field in Seattle. Gorgeous place. Beautiful ballpark. And the Astros have invaded with a run already. For the Seattle Mariners, the starting lineup: Logan Morrison in the top spot, followed by center fielder Austin Jackson. And the fine second baseman Robinson Cano bats third. Middle three in the order: Nelson Cruz, he's been among the leaders in the power departments this year. Kyle Seager follows at third, and Mark Trumbo in right. And the bottom three: Seth Smith, Brad Miller, and Mike Zunino.
Lance McCullers going for your Houston Astros. Making his 7th start on the season. He has recorded 40 strikeouts. That's the most ever recorded by an Astro pitcher through his first 6 career games. The young man is getting some things done. 172 opponent batting average.
So the first pitch of the night from McCullers misses under the knees. 96 miles an hour. And he has just steadily stayed there. We see a lot of pitchers who will on one night hit a 96 maybe, and then after that other nights they're about 91, 92 as the pop-up is on the left side. Valbuena gives way now, and Tucker comes on, can't get to it. Luis Valbuena misread this ball, and it results in a single for Morrison.
It's the first hit the Mariners have ever gotten against Lance McCullers. But I guess it had to happen in this fashion. See the shift on, that makes it tough. Valbuena was playing in on the infield grass, protecting against the potential bunt. Tucker playing a deep left field, and that's a tough position for a third baseman to be in. You want to make that play, but you can run such a long way. You anticipate the left fielder being there to make the play.
And for Valbuena, he got to that foul territory side as the ball now is starting to curl back to the field, makes it really tough. Austin Jackson at the plate. Mariners center fielder hitting .265 on the year. Blummer mentioned that strikeout mark now from McCullers for the Astros. It was Tom Griffin, and you go way back to that era. who previously had held the mark. So pretty good stuff here for Lance McCullers. 2-0 the count on Austin Jackson. But the point we were kind of getting to for a moment there was the McCullers fastball doesn't drop off, not even late in a ball game. He'll maintain it. Finds the strike zone. 2-1 the count.
Yeah, you better be bringing your thumb guard to the ballpark if you're going to face Lance McCullers, because like you said, that velocity is going to continually be 95 plus.
Got the U.S. Open, and now a pickoff at first base. Lance McCullers fired over, but Morrison now wants his dugout to take a look at a possible review here.
He may want him to look, but how was it this close at first base? He was out by a mile if he didn't bring that right arm back.
Lloyd McClendon is awaiting word. You could see Morrison was going to go. I think Morrison might have a point there.
It was a desperation swim move by Logan Morrison. Ball there in plenty of time. Do you want to go in front of the bag? Because that's where the runner's going to be headed to.
You know, I've always felt the left-handed first baseman has a huge edge there. And
huge
probably
edge.
Just swipes and hits that arm trying to come back in.
Well, his glove, left-handed catching first baseman, his glove will get there a good half second before the right-hander.
So Carter did all he could to try to lay the tag on. At the moment, it looks like this out might be reversed. So the umpires gather on the third base side. Didn't take long to get the first home run of the night. Didn't take long now for the first review.
Sometimes as an umpire, when they see that ball there so early, they just assume the guy is out. And it's an easy assumption.
Look, I did the same thing on the call because you could see with that throw over it easily beat him. So they await word from New York. Again, my anticipation would be that they reverse this call.
Well, the good thing about this is it gives players a chance to get to know each other a little bit more. Logan Morrison, Chris Carter chatting it up.
It's all about getting along, isn't it?
Sometimes.
Hey, how about the U.S. Open going on here in Seattle?
Yeah, they're probably talking about how awful that course is to play.
Somebody forgot to water the greens out there, didn't
they? It looks like they're playing it in L.A.
In the midst of a drought,
I was going to say, right on the 405, it looks like.
It does look that way. Yeah, they're laughing about it, too. Well, this is a lengthy review.
This is pretty good. I'm surprised right now. Is it? I mean, we're going to get a hung jury?
Well, that would be good for Lance McCullers.
Wouldn't it, though?
So here we go. Yes, and we surmised it might be a safe call. So Morrison is back into the bag safely. Still nobody out. Austin Jackson is at the plate. A 2-1 count. That took a little too long for my likes on that particular play. McCullers going to try again. But clearly, Blummer, the Mariners try to employ the running game immediately.
They're trying to take advantage of the situation.
There's your swing and a miss on the breaking ball, the first we've seen tonight.
Well, the interesting line for me on that last start for McCullers was the 4 walks.
5 innings of no-hit ball. He kind of scuffled through the whole way. The walks you talk about. And he wound up leaving prior to when he normally would have in that ball game. He still had likely one more inning in him. But the Astros were thumping runs all over the place and led, eventually winning it 13-0.
Just watching McCullers on the mound, he seems like a pretty excitable guy out there. High energy.
He runs right up to that cocky region that I like for my pitcher. And ball 4. So a leadoff single on a pop fly by Logan Morrison. And now the walk to Austin Jackson. Nobody out for the 3-hitter, Robinson Cano.
Defense, Preston Tucker out there in left field. George Springer making that start in center field. First time this year. Domingo Santana out in right. Valbuena and Correa on the left side. Margot and Chris Carter out there on the right side. Hank Conger will be doing the catching with the left-handed pitcher Elias pitching for the Seattle Mariners. Marisnick going on that DL with the left hamstring tweak. Probably a good idea to give that thing 15 days. He needs those wheels.
And that provides Domingo Santana a chance to stay with the club for Likely the full stay on the DL. So nice break for the youngster. Ground ball right side, slowly hit. Marwin bobbles and everybody's safe. So a pop fly single that drops, a walk, and now a ground ball that results in a likely E4, and it is. And the bases are juiced. Nobody out for Nelson Cruz. And now the skip, A.J. Hinch, is going to go out to the mound. And what would you anticipate this to be for A.J. to talk about?
I would actually love to be in this conversation right now, because you know A.J.'s going out there to try and settle the young man down, tell him not to panic. You've still got things under control with your stuff. But in return, we talked about that little bit of cockiness from Lance McCullers, and I guarantee you he's probably talking right back to A.J. saying, don't worry about me, get back in the dugout, we'll get this thing under control.
Yeah, you anticipated perfectly, because following the comments by A.J., I was going to ask you, so how do you think Lance responds? And you've already answered, and I completely agree. I just think that when things don't go right, this is a guy that is going to get even tougher.
And whether or not it happens or goes his way, I still love the answer.
Yes.
I would rather have that answer than, oh man, here we go again,
yeah.
you know, because you've got to have that edge. He's got the stuff to get out of it.
You played with that guy, I'm sure, that kind of had that defeatist attitude, and it's tough for everybody.
It's real tough, but Roy Oswalt for me was one of those guys that never panicked, no matter the situation. If he was getting breaks or not getting breaks, if he ended up in bad situations, he still wanted that baseball and wanted to get out of it so bad.
Nice job by Hank Conger, who gets a third consecutive start behind the plate for Lance McCullers. So we have the makings of a private catcher here.
You know, Hank Conger's hoping so. Not a bad guy to latch on to.
No, because you know McCullers is going to be out there every time possible. By the way, the Mariners, who tried to run right away, don't run a lot. They're 11th in the American League in stolen bases, just 27 of them, and they've been caught 24 times. So that running game does not work for the M's. And now a couple of strikes, 1 and 2 on Cruz.
97.
That's as high as we've seen him, I believe. But we've seen him there a number of times.
But I tell you what, 94, you're like, okay, this guy's got something. But when you're looking fastball and he pumps a 97 in there,
exactly,
that is firm to quite firm.
Nelson Cruz starts the night 5th in the American League in batting average at .309. He's dropped off quite a bit recently. Prince Fielder, Miguel Cabrera, Jason Kipnis, and Mike Moustakas are in the top 4 spots in batting average. How about your boy Paul Goldschmidt in the National League at .357?
He's my man crush.
Lance McCullers with the slider, and now that fills it. Call it a slider. He calls it a breaking ball, and he throws a variety of breaking balls with it.
Yeah, does a good job of taking some miles per hour off it every once in a while, get a little bit bigger break out of it, and then he has that turbo one you just saw.
So 3 and 2. Does he try to rush the heat right on by again? And he misses with the fastball at 97. Second walk of the inning, and the Mariners have caught the Astros at 1. That's really the first rough moment that Lance has had to face now in the bigs.
This might be a chance where you get to see a little more of the personality from Lance McCullers.
The shift on. That's going to make the double play a bit more difficult. Kyle Seager at the plate, and he takes a strike. And again 97.
With the located fastball on the outside.
Nice cool weather, and sometimes that can favor a pitcher, a power pitcher.
Absolutely. It's just a little more sting when you get jammed or off the end of the bat.
Brings another fastball for a called strike. Drops it off to 96.
There's a pretty good location on that one. The outside edge on the first pitch. This one, you can say down the middle, but when it's down around the knees, tough to pick up when you're throwing that firm.
0-2 the count.
And again, his fastball doesn't, when it's down, it doesn't dive out of the zone. His fastball will stay on that same plane and ride through the zone.
Kyle Seager, one of the really tough bats in this Seattle order. 11 bombs on the year. He's driven in 36. And gets the strikeout, does McCullers. So on 3 pitches and polishes it with the breaking ball. First out of the inning.
Those are 3 outstanding pitches in outstanding locations. 0-2 pitch, keep it down. Don't give him a chance to put the bat on it. Get that first out. Now a ground ball does get you out of this inning.
And you've got an ideal guy for the double play, Mark Trumbo, who doesn't run well, and he has thoroughly struggled with the bat for Seattle. There's the combined set of numbers on the year. He has yet to come up with an extra base hit for Seattle. Nice job by Hank Conger, staying down very well. 8 hits for Trumbo in a Seattle uniform, all singles. And those 8 singles have come in 44 at bats. Hate to fall behind on a guy like this, though. That fastball fouled back again. 96. Trumbo's a guy that's had some power success in the past while playing with the Angels. In fact, in his 6th year in the big leagues now, already over 100 home runs, 118. But the numbers have dropped off seriously the last few years. Chopper to short. They cannot get the out at second base. They get one at first. Second out of the inning, but a run scores as Austin Jackson crosses, and the Mariners take the 2-1 lead in the first.
May not believe this, but that was a veteran play by a young man at shortstop who's still learning the game a little bit. You get in these bases loaded situations, you got one of your roommates on the bump, you get a ground ball finally, you might have there's times where you might want to try and do too much and turn that double play. But a very mature decision to go ahead and get that out, knowing it's the first inning.
Yeah, that's well described right there, because you make that effort to second base, don't get an out, and then you put McCullers in a very tough spot. And now Seth Smith at the plate. You know, considering a pop fly has dropped for a base hit, there's been an error in the inning, a couple of walks, McCullers has shown that he can throw fastballs right by guys in big RBI situations.
Absolutely.
Finds the strike zone. It's 1-1. For Mark Trumbo, that RBI just his second as a Mariner. The RBI for Nelson Cruz, his 42nd. Two balls and a strike. Waiting on deck, the 8-hitter, shortstop Brad Miller.
A changeup at 92 miles an hour. Kind of looked like he pulled the string and with it fading away.
I think you're right, because he's been right in that 90-91 consistently area on the changeup, and misses again. So 3-1. Well, I don't feel like he's missing badly. I don't feel like he's struggling, and yet a ball away from 3 walks here in the inning.
90.2 on that changeup. The velocity average on the last 3 games. So that, yeah, part of the 92 mile an hour was a changeup.
And a strike. So Smith is yet to swing the bat, has a 3-2 count. Not a cloud in the sky here in Seattle.
Wait, what?
And you heard, and I heard, there was a little rain this morning.
I was shocked to hear that. Getting spoiled up here.
So the 3-2. Fastball, half swing. Did he go? Yes, he did. Home plate umpire takes it. And so that'll do it for the M's. They get 2 runs in the first inning on 1 pop fly hit and leave a pair. 2-1 Seattle. Book your low fare right now at southwest.com. Also brought to you by Budweiser. Make it a plan to make it home. Oh, yeah. And we missed that on the way in here.
I know. It's too bad. Maybe a little leftovers after the game. I don't know.
If I didn't know better, I'd say those look a bit like Dodger dogs, all kind of burned up like that.
A little extra char never hurt.
To the second inning we go. 2-1 Seattle. Elias gave up a home run to George Springer on the first pitch of the night. Number 11 on the year for George, and an 11-game hitting score, make that 12-game. But Seattle got a pair of runs in the bottom of this first inning as Lance McCullers had some issues with command. But there were also defensive miscues in the inning. One error charged, one pop fly that dropped in fair territory.
Missed pickoff.
Yeah, and originally called an out at first base. I think they got it right in the end. But how that could have turned the inning around. Of course, that was kind of the backside of the pop fly dropping.
Yep.
And Conger takes strike 3. So he's caught looking. That's already the third strikeout now for Elias.
Elias is working that breaking ball pretty good right now on these Houston Astros.
Luis Valbuena will stand in. It was Valbuena trying to come up with that pop fly down the left field side. Tough play, but when it was all said and done, he didn't come close. It left it in the hands of Preston Tucker, and he wasn't there. Valbuena backs away and takes a strike. The Astros as a club continue to strike out, and they strike out at a very high rate. They are worst in the league. And Luis Valbuena has been one of the guys who has been prone to the strikeout. As an 0-2 count.
A good changeup left on left. Elias is showing a good mix. He's getting ahead of these Astros hitters too.
Sweeps that slider, misses. 1-2 the count. Again, the Astros in first place in the West, 40-28, 3.5 up on Texas. The LA Angels are 5.5 back. These Seattle Mariners 9.5 games back, and they have to be thinking coming into this series that this is a big series for them, whether they want to admit it or not. For the Astros, I imagine the thinking is, let's just keep playing good baseball.
Good things happen when you do that.
The M's have been going back and forth in recent games, winning and losing. They lost yesterday's game. The Seattle Mariners, the team that a lot of people, if not most, thought at the start of the year were going to be the team to beat. Which is fouled back. In fact, a number of experts figured that the Mariners would be the club representing the American League in the World Series. To this point, it has not worked out that way. And probably a number of reasons for that, but they haven't gotten much offense at all. Breaking ball, grounded foul. Again, the Astros are 8-2 against Seattle. The Mariners are second to last in runs scored in the league, and they are dead last in team batting average, and the Astros have been starting to rise in both of those categories. And down on strikes Valbuena. Fourth strikeout already for Elias. And now we can take a look at that AL West.
Kind of all jumping together there at the top three. Mariners and Athletics a little ways behind. The Rangers, they're amazing. Chris Sale, 8 innings of shutout baseball. The White Sox lose to the Rangers today. Unbelievable. Got to give credit to the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim and Orange County and all that other stuff down there for sticking in there, having some offensive woes, but Albert Pujols picking up some of the slack.
Leading the American League in home runs now with 19. Whereas Mike Trout is right behind at 18. You would think they would have a really good offense. That's not the case. Marwin Gonzalez gets the start at second base with Jose Altuve still ailing. Marwin grounds one back to the mound. Nice play by Elias as he gets the out, and that does it for the Astros. A 1-2-3 second inning. We've played 1.5, 2-1 Mariners.
Position for the American League. Make Houston proud and vote Altuve now at Astros.com/vote. Lance McCullers back to work, and he's facing Seattle for the second time in second game. I guess he's just faced them 5 days ago. So I asked him about that. Just facing a team so recently, maybe advantage hitters is what you hear a lot. And he said, well, last time I was in the zone, I was effective against them. So today that gives me confidence. But they will be looking to capitalize on mistakes that I got away with last time. But he was hoping to be a little bit sharper today, guys. We'll see after the game how it feels about getting onto that first inning jam that he put himself in earlier.
Yeah, thanks, Julia. And quite frankly, though he walked a couple in the first inning, it was not a fortunate inning. Let's put it that way. When a pop fly drops, when a ground ball to the right side results in an error, and when all said and done with a couple of walks, a couple of runs for Seattle, one out as Brad Miller has popped to the catcher. Brings up the 9 spot. Mike Zunino is the catcher. Zunino has had a tough time with the bat. 164 the batting average. Has power. 7 homers. Takes another strike. It's 0-2. Seattle looks to me like they're in a taking mode right now. Like they want to see a number of pitches from Lance McCullers. Maybe get him out of there early.
I think that's exactly what it is, too. They don't want to face him more than they have to.
Ball and 2 strikes. So did we mention, I think we did, Texas beating Chicago, the White Sox 2-1 today?
Doesn't make any sense, but yes, they did.
I'll give you some numbers. And now 2-2. And here's where Lance McCullers is missing some pitches when he's got a chance to put hitters away. Chris Sale started for the White Sox, went 8 scoreless innings, 2 hit ball, and struck out 14. And the White Sox lost the ball game. Pitch in the dirt, a swing and a miss. And now Conger's going to have to make the play on down to first base, and does so. Out number 2 here in the second inning. 3rd strikeout for McCullers.
Just a reminder as you enjoy a cold one to look forward to Miller Time. Later in tonight's game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Thought he should have gone to that slider on that 1-2 count, but eventually he got there.
You going to have a chat with him?
Yeah, I am actually. I'm going to make a note of that. Talk to Lance. Throw the nasty slider.
I don't think you're going to make it there, though. You've got some Star Wars characters to catch up with. Logan Morrison is due up and now comes out of that first base dugout.
Did he forget he was hitting? Didn't have his batting gloves on or anything.
There's usually a more likely response.
Yep. Something rotten in the spread earlier.
It's always a possibility. Logan Morrison is the culprit that hit the pop-up inside that left field line. Luis Valbuena went back, was calling early, and then was in the wrong spot. Preston Tucker couldn't get there, and it wound up being a leadoff single.
Took a peek in the left. There goes Logan.
Uh-oh.
Wait, I'm in the lineup?
Wow.
That's not a good feeling.
We were talking baseball on the bench. There's your changeup. A lot of running movement on that changeup. So Morrison is 1 for 1 on the night. By the way, Colby Lewis picked up the win, his 7th on the year for the Texas Rangers, who just keep on winning. Again, the change. What is it? What's going on for the Texas Rangers? Is it Joey Gallo along with Prince Fielder?
Got the right mix. Yeah, their offense has been firing. Prince Fielder's been doing a great job, but I think that starting pitching, a couple of young pitchers in that rotation are doing a great job holding down the fort, allowing that offense to score some runs.
And you talk about that as the inning ends. Strikeout of Logan Morrison, 4th on the night for McCullers. He shuts him down 1-2-3 in the second inning. It's 2-1 Seattle after 2. Ball game started with Springer. First pitch of the night.
Got to give some of our fans some credit because the Astros are now going to be considered Crush City.
That's nice. I like that.
We've got Clutch City for the Houston Rockets, Crush City for the Astros. I really like it.
That's really good
because these guys can crush.
We saw one of those kinds of names for Carlos Correa today. As Springer, first pitch swinging, pops it on the right side. There's room for Morrison. He'll make the catch as he backs in foul territory. 1 pitch, 1 out in the 3rd inning. It'll bring up Carlos Correa.
And it was.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to follow me up there.
Puerto Rican Punisher?
No. You know, and we've heard a lot of that one.
Show?
One of his teammates, Shoria. Carlos Shoria.
There might be a little tongue-in-cheek between teammates on that one with the young man.
You think so?
Yeah, a little rookie hazing never hurt.
He is the show right now a bit, isn't he?
Oh, I'm enjoying it.
Elias at 95 miles an hour. We're seeing some heat. Correa struck out in the 1st inning. or was it Shoria?
No, that wasn't Shoria that struck out. He hasn't showed up yet.
He's likely to show up at some point tonight. The show has been dealing. Carlos Correa. It's hard to imagine he's just shown up on the scene. He's got a 5-game hitting streak. And that's really the minor part of what he's been doing.
Ooh, Gary Pettis dance. Nice play, Nancy. See the play to Karam right there? That was fantastic. She was out for early work.
You know, how you retain all these names is beyond me. 0-2 the count. High fastball popped up. Once again, it's Morrison, called off by Cano, who puts his all into it and makes the play, out number 2.
That man can make any play look easy.
He just, every play looks as ho-hum as can be with Robinson Cano. 2 outs as Preston Tucker will come to the plate. He flied to center field in the first. 2-1 Seattle. Tucker with 4 bombs now. Couple as a pinch hitter. He's been very effective against left-hand pitching. $15 RBIs already for Tucker. My impression in watching him against left-hand pitching is that he might stay in there with that front side better against the lefties than against the righties.
Really does seem that way. Got the numbers to back it up, but just watching him visually, you can really see him forcing that front shoulder closed.
314 the mark against lefties. 243 against righties. All of the 4 home runs have come against right-handers, though. Does have a pair of doubles against the southpaws. That slider a little too much. So 1-2-3 third inning. That's 7 in a row retired now by Elias as the Mariners lead it 2-1.
For the rest of June and early July, presented by Progressive. 2 more games here in Seattle over the weekend before heading down south into Southern California to take on the California Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. 3-game set through the midweek before flying back to Houston, Texas to take on the New York Yankees. 4-game set over that weekend, and then Kansas City Royals for 3, and then it's on into July where we go up to Boston for the 4th of July.
You're coming in to work those 3 against KC with Brownie. That should be fun.
That will be fun. Talk about all those all-stars they've got.
Is Major League Baseball going to take care of that any further now, as they've taken away some of the votes today? Austin Jackson leads off here in the 3rd. 0-2 the count. A lot of Seattle hitters taking first strikes. Is it their new ploy to get things going offensively, or is it, as we maybe took a guess at, that they'd like to see McCullers off the mound as soon as possible?
Well, I think a little bit of it's going to be, man, if we can get this kid out of here a little bit sooner. But I don't know if you want to get to the Astros bullpen.
Yeah. See, that's always the big question.
But those 4 walks in that last start might be an indication of them trying to take some more.
Playing a little D, Lance McCullers. He takes care of that glove, and now it takes care of him. One out. It'll bring up 3-hitter Robinson Cano. And we're referencing, we rode over on the bus today with Lance, and he had his glove with him.
Yeah, that was odd.
I can't say I've seen a player with his glove coming from the hotel before, but good thing public transportation wasn't needed.
I guess he doesn't trust the Astros equipment staff.
Maybe not. Oh, certainly he
I'm gonna have
does.
to talk to Carl Schneider about that. Say, hey, man.
Robinson Cano reached on an error. It was an E4. That back in the first inning. Marwin Gonzalez picked up that error, and it led to one unearned run against McCullers in the first inning. So far, one earned against him. Finds the strike zone at 96. He's been steady up at 96, even 97 tonight. Hard to figure out what's gone on with Robinson Cano, hitting .236 on the year.
Bizarre.
Great year last year. But you have to figure that's a big part of what's gone on the negative side for Seattle.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you hate to place blame on anybody for anything that's going wrong, but when you don't have this guy putting up numbers like he can, it's going to cause some serious issues in that lineup.
Seattle Mariners hitting .233 as a club. Dead last in the American League. Now the Astros have filled up that last spot for a lot of the season, but they've been coming on. Fastball grounded right side. Going to be tough. Marwin dives and can't come up with it. So it's an infield single for Robinson Cano. He's 1 for 2. The hit comes with 1 out and brings up the 4-hitter Nelson Cruz.
It would have been real interesting to see if Marwin had come up with that ground ball. Did a great job ranging to his right, laying out. Just couldn't corral it. See if it ends up in the glove or if he just knocked it down. Yeah, it was in there, just kind of rolled out of there when he hit the grass.
Cano aboard. Nelson Cruz at the plate. Walked with the bases loaded in the first inning. That provided a run. And now aggressively after the first pitch. What a year Nelson's been having on the heels of a great year with Baltimore a year ago. 40 home runs last year. Signs with the Mariners this year. He's hit 18 long balls. And now with the RBI in the first inning has driven in 42.
But I think that's one of the more interesting things is Cano putting up this year on the same year that they have a guy like Nelson Cruz hitting behind him.
Yeah, you get that guy behind you and it's supposed to help, but it hasn't played out this year. Half swing. Wow. I don't know what the side view will show, but from up here I thought that bat went through.
Those are those great right-handed numbers that Cano wanted on the team last year. They finally get it. Now, like we were talking about, the numbers just aren't proving correct. Ooh.
It's right out where.
That's borderline.
Yeah, it's right in that gray area for me. And McCullers maybe trying to throw a little too hard, misses away. And you talk about Nelson Cruz, an all-star the last 2 years, 3 times in his career. He was 7th in MVP voting last year.
It was Lance McCullers' 50th pitch.
Number 51 was blown on by.
Sure was.
I thought Jose Abreu last year could have finished higher than he did. Maybe Nelson Cruz could have as well. With 1 out, Cano does not go. Ground ball left side. That's a base hit. Just placed in the hole. I thought initially Valbuena was going to go for it. He held up. Back-to-back hits against McCullers, and one out for Kyle Seager.
I don't know, that was kind of an interesting pitch and swing from Nelson Cruz. I wonder if that threw off Valbuena a little bit. See the foot down early and just kind of, it's almost a hesitation before he swung the bat, but it's all about location. You put it in the right spot, got a good chance.
Big, strong guy with that kind of swing. You get that top spin and it takes off. So Seager at the plate. He was the first of the 4 strikeouts from McCullers. And now offers early and swings and misses. That changeup. Just don't see that pitch hit on Lance.
Well, you're sitting 95, 96, and he pulls the string at 91 with some movement. It's tough to change gears.
You've got that dial all the way full up, and you just simply get the bat started too early. Good breaking ball. It's 0-2 on Seager. It was that breaking ball that struck him out in the first inning. A run on 2 hits, an error for the Astros. 2 runs, 3 hits for Seattle. And there's the second out of the inning. Second time Seager's down on strikes. 5 on the night now for McCullers.
I think Seager's seen in his 2 at-bats has seen 6 pitches and punched out twice. Pretty similar sequences too.
I got the impression that second at-bat for Seager, he decided he needed more than one swing in the at-bat to be able to get something going.
Some guys with pretty good curveballs in the big leagues right there.
Lance McCullers already on that kind of list. That's a good heater. Trumbo swings through it. Trumbo grounded out and drove in a run, the second run for Seattle in the first. His second RBI for Seattle. And again.
It is not a Mark Trumbo swing.
This is not the same guy that we saw with the Angels.
That guy was just a bomb session every night.
In fact, I felt like maybe the Angels made a mistake when they let Trumbo get away.
I honestly felt that way too.
He moved on to Arizona.
But I thought he was just going to go off in Arizona in that place.
Trumbo had hit between 2011 and 2013 29, 32, and 34 bombs successively in those years. So he was one of the true power hitters in the game. Well, Conger's doing a heck of a job.
Heck of a job on tough pitches. McCullers throws that thing hard. You just saw 88 miles an hour on that breaking ball, yet he's still quick enough to get out there and somehow keep it in front. Thankfully he's anticipating and they're on the same page with the signs, but still.
Back in 2011, Trumbo was second in the Rookie of the Year voting in the American League. Again, that slider breaking ball, as he calls it. And Conger is getting the job done. 2-2 the count, 2 outs. This year with Arizona, Trumbo hit .259 and did have 9 home runs, but the faucet has just shut off. Ground ball left side. That goes into left field. Tucker with a throw to the plate. It will not be in time. RBI single Trumbo, and the Mariners lead it 3-1, and that was just a seeing eye hit.
There's been a couple of those in this inning. Nelson Cruz got one in a similar place. Just able to bounce it through this Astros infield. That's McCullers finally running into some tough luck here. Ball chopped in that hole. But again, when you get that top spin, that second hop off the dirt usually jumps. And you see it just sneaking past Valbuena. But that, for me right there, Hank Conger knocking that ball down was tremendous because Lance McCullers was nowhere behind Conger to back that throw up.
Valbuena had to go to his left on the ground ball, couldn't get back in the cutoff position, and then, like you say, McCullers wasn't in his spot. Seth Smith now stands in and takes a strike. And without that effort by Conger, runners at second and third. Well, I don't know that we've seen McCullers with better stuff than tonight, and yet command off a bit. And I would say the fortune has been way off here this evening.
Yeah, it's a bad combo. No command, no luck.
Smith struck out his first at bat. And now 2-1 the count. I don't think McCullers intends to have that fastball run like that. That four-seamer, he wants to just ride with everything he's got wherever he wants to locate it.
Is that a mechanical issue, or is that something else?
I imagine it's mechanical. I'll tell you who the guy is, and I know you know this. Steve Sparks watches pitchers very closely, and he's got some great responses to things that go on with pitchers. I kind of know the end result from being on the other side, knowing what a guy wants and what he doesn't want to have happen. How he creates that. I hate to try to play the technical side.
Yeah, he's way above our skill level on that.
No
aspect.
doubt about it. And don't stop there. Breaking ball misses. 3-2. That'll put the runners in motion.
And Conger picking his poison, trying to let guys know if he's going to throw down to third or second if they do choose to double steal right here.
65 pitches for McCullers. This is not going well. On the hands, Looper. And a fine play by Valbuena. The way the night was going, didn't anticipate that happening, but that's a heck of a defensive play, and keeps it at 3-1 Seattle as we end 3.
Your weekends at Minute Maid Park with the best fireworks show in town. Presented by Marathon Oil Corporation. The next Friday night fireworks is June 26th when the Astros take on the Yankees. For more information, visit astros.com/fireworks or call 1-877-9-ASTROS.
Got some fireworks here already. We go to the 4th inning. Evan Gattis was hit by a pitch in the first inning. He stands in. How about that play by Valbuena on a night where things weren't going very well? What do you think was going to happen?
I thought it was getting over his head for sure, the way things were going for Lance McCullers, because the Mariners have not necessarily squared up a ball yet.
Just some little bouncers, an error mixed in, a pop fly that drops. McCullers battling command a bit. Good swing by Gaddis as he fouls it. 1-2 the count.
Got some swinging fools on this team. Between Gaddis and Altuve, they don't see too many pitches.
Ground ball up the middle. A bit of a shift on. Cano is near the bag and makes the play. Out number 1 in the 4th. I'll bring up 5-hitter Chris Carter. Carter, as he often does when he comes to Seattle, gets hot with the bat and had a base hit in the first inning. Had a pair of hits yesterday closing out that series with the Rockies. 2 for 5, had a double, a couple of RBIs.
How's that reflection treating you?
It's getting pretty good right now.
Oh, gosh, it's in my grill.
Carter takes outside. 2-0 the count.
Need to put up my glove.
Yeah, that is pretty solid right there.
It's nice, isn't it? Beautiful day here in Seattle, by the way.
You got your wife in town. Kind of nice to bop around the area.
Big series.
2-1 now as Carter fouls it off. Yeah, with the U.S. Open going on, the downtown area is pretty well booked in the hotels. So we're staying out, what is it, Bellevue?
Yep. Not a bad area.
No, it's a beautiful area.
You looking at real estate?
If I had the possibilities, I'd take a look around there. Carter fouls it back just under Blummer's big feet.
Hey.
You know, it kind of strikes me that Bellevue is a little bit the response to Seattle that Silicon Valley might be to the Bay Area in San Francisco.
Definitely has that feel. It's like a second downtown.
Carter down on strikes. 2 outs in the inning and 6 strikeouts now for Elias.
Last start at Minute Maid Park, Elias really didn't have a chance to get to any of those secondary pitches. Got beat up early, only went 3 1/3. Threw a lot of fastballs. Those fastballs were getting hit hard. Now he's working ahead in the counts. And he's pretty even spread throughout the course of this season with that fastball slider or fastball curveball changeup mix. But it really seems like that breaking ball has been real tough for some of these hitters, both left and right for the Astros.
Big sweeper got Preston Tucker, the left-handed bat. 1-1 the count. Domingo Santana at the plate. And how much chance he may get to play here in the next couple of weeks, I guess, depends in good part as to how he does initially, but he's had some big swings already for the club.
I think a lot of it is going to be predicated on how well he swings it.
You know, we talked about how rough things went for Domingo last year. Rough would be a very soothing way to say that. Grounds one left side. Shortstop is there. Miller with the play has a good arm. And that'll do it a 1, 2, 3, 4th inning. 10 in a row now retired by Elias. And the M's on top.
receive 2 View Deck 2 tickets for only $22 or 2 Outfield Deck 2 tickets for only $5 for the Royals game on Tuesday, June 30th. Tickets can be purchased at the Minute Maid box office. Okay?
Thank you, Julia. As we go now on to the bottom of the 4th inning, Seattle on top 3-1. It's 8-9-1 coming up for the Mariners. Brad Miller will lead it off against Lance McCullers. We were talking about some of the woes maybe had this evening with lack of command for Lance McCullers and Steve Sparks. You had a chance to check in with Steve, who watches things really closely.
Yeah, ran next door. Luckily, they're close enough to where I can go do that. And I trust his opinion because he is watching every pitch. And he's watching how these pitchers release. And some of the pitches that we've seen, and you talked about it, Ash, how McCullers' fastball has a little more run than it usually does today. And Sparky said, watch that front shoulder. Sometimes it's flying open a little bit. When he stays in the zone like he did on that pitch right there, he's kind of pitching through that hallway downhill towards the batter. If that front elbow or that front shoulder flies open too quick, leaves that arm dragging, trying to make up that extra space, and he just doesn't do it, and the ball runs off the side.
When you throw a 4-seam fastball, as McCullers does, you want it to look like that, where it just runs straight. And his is true as a string. Hitters have a real hard time getting to it. The barrel is usually under. As the first out is recorded, 4-3. Brad Miller grounding out. It'll bring up Mike Zunino. But yeah, it's a good report, and it's what you would anticipate when you see that fastball that starts running away on the arm side.
Yeah, it's important for them to stay downhill, going towards the hitter. And then much like hitting, if your front shoulder opens up too soon, the barrel will drag on your swing. The barrel for the pitcher is his arm.
Line shot is foul down the right side. Of course, I say missing to the arm side, but it comes as a combo. You start yanking pitches on the glove side as well. So it's just consistency's not there when you start opening too much. Zunino swings through it. Another fastball at 97 for McCullers. He has very high expectations for himself. And so he's not pleased at all when things go this way. One of the runs unearned against McCullers. And there's that breaking ball in the dirt. 72 pitches now for Lance. How far can he work into this game? That breaking ball slips and misses up and in. That on base percentage, as we talked about the batting average for Zunino, that's way down now. On base at 233. The numbers are not good. And that breaking ball gets him. 6 strikeouts for McCullers, 2 down here in the 4th inning. And back to the top with Logan Morrison.
This is a great graphic too, because this goes into what I was talking with Sparky about just a second ago. The pitch usage between the first 3 starts, those last 3 starts, and the important number for me is that little white piece on the lower right that shows that he's throwing that changeup a little bit more. And Sparky said, how about that changeup that Lance McCullers is throwing today? We talked about it being 91, 92 miles an hour, and Sparky was incredibly impressed with it, and it's a great pitch for him to have in that repertoire when you're throwing that hard.
Morrison hits it on the ground, a 1-2-3 inning, so that helps out a bit for Lance McCullers. But through 4 innings of play, the Mariners lead 3-1. presented by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare right now at southwest.com. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO.
Altuve's killing the spread.
Get back in the lineup.
Goodness. Checking out the sights.
It's a gorgeous ballpark, and we've got Astros fans on hand here this evening. They're looking for some runs. They got one quickly. The first pitch of the night hammered out by George Springer, his 11th on the year. Getting out in front, Hank Conger. Strikeout victim in the second inning. 6 on the night for Elias. 6 on the night for McCullers. So a couple of youngsters with good stuff going after it. Ball and a strike on Hank. Conger hitting .219 on the year. Has 4 home runs. He's a switch hitter, and he's hit 2 from each side. Tonight's game is the first of the remaining 9 between these clubs on the year. They've played 10 times. The Astros are 8-2 against Seattle on the season.
And with Springer's home run, now 22 home runs in those games.
Isn't that amazing?
It is.
Through the first 10, the Astros had hit 21. You talked about it.
Half these games have been played at Safeco Field. It's a big ballpark.
Well, the ball hit sharply but foul.
There's R2D2.
Is that the kid that threw out the first pitch?
Could be. Did a great job too. It's a good father right there. Teaching your kids about Star Wars.
Ground ball left side. Seager's there to make the play. And out number 1 in the 5th inning. They'll bring up 8-hitter Luis Valbuena. So you mentioned the 21 home runs coming in, 22 now for the Astros against Seattle pitching. They came in hitting .285 against Seattle. 64 runs scored in those games, so averaging obviously over 6 runs a game against the Mariners, and that'll win you a lot of games.
I'll say.
What'd the first pitch look like tonight?
Here we go. Young Luke Skywalker. Well, it could be Anakin Skywalker too.
Not sure he used the force there, but did get it to home plate. Ball and a strike on Valbuena. He struck out in the second. Ballpark is filling in here this evening.
Fireworks night, Star Wars night. There's all kinds of fun stuff going on.
Star Wars fireworks? What does that look like?
I don't know. We're going to stay around and find out.
Are we? Are you sure?
Yeah. It's going to be a laser show too.
Luis fouls it off. 1-2 the count. The Astros have not been able to get a base runner after the first inning. Got that leadoff home run by Springer. With 2 outs, Gaddis was hit by a pitch. Chris Carter had a base hit, but then Santana struck out, and that ended things. And now the trend continues. 7 strikeouts for Elias. Second time for Valbuena to go down on strikes. Now Marwin comes to the plate, 0 for 1. Grounded out back to the mound in the second. And Marwin takes inside. 13 in a row have been retired by Elias on a night that started with that first pitch being launched to left field, and it just didn't have this feel starting out.
Well, it may have backfired because it was a fastball that Elias threw, and he isn't throwing too many more fastballs down the middle. He's done a good job hitting the corners, but really going to that slider when he needs it.
Plus, he's got a good arm. 94 on that fastball. Quite frankly, you don't find a whole lot of left-handers outside of Chris Sale that bring that 95+ kind of fastball. Clayton Kershaw, and he's had his rough patches this year. Fly ball deep right center field, long run for Jackson, and he can't get there. One hop up and out of here. So it's a 2-out double for Marwin Gonzalez, and now it brings up George Springer.
Nice work, Ash. Jinxed him.
13 in a row, and it ends right there.
Pretty good rip from Marwin, too. Got that high cheese and got on top of it. Tomahawked it out there to deep right center. Good job of going to get it. For a second there, it looked like Austin Jackson was going to make a fantastic play, but just out of the reach.
11 doubles now for Marwin Gonzalez. Austin Jackson used to roam Comerica Park in Detroit in that huge center field. George Springer is 1 for 2 on the night. He is homered and popped out. Number 11 for Springer. He's going to try to tie this game up. So the changeup is big on both sides now.
Showing great command of all 3 pitches.
Does the home run tend to make a guy like Springer start swinging hard again too soon? Well, no swing there. But talk about taking it like a man.
That was a good take.
2 runners aboard with 2 outs for the kid. Carlos Correa comes to the plate. And now the pitching coach Rick Waits goes out to the mound. I never felt like it was a good idea to talk about a guy that's coming to the plate, a guy that is really swinging the bat well, and you want to make sure don't let this happen, because sure enough this will happen when you bring it up. Had a pitching coach way early on in my playing days, Warren Spahn, who talked about that happening to him. That pitching coach came out and said, you can't do this on this guy or he'll hit a grand slam, and sure enough that's what followed.
Oh man, you spoke to Warren Spahn?
Well, I listened.
Oh,
it was like E.F. Hutton back in the day.
I like it.
Correa takes a strike. Carlos is struck out looking and popped out. .333 the batting average. And now 0-2. Correa having a tough time with Elias, but he's not the Lone Ranger here this evening. How would I turn that into Star Wars talk? He's not the Wookiee here this evening.
It's not hairy enough?
Maybe. And now with 2 strikes. Line shot but foul. Well, he's shown an uncanny ability with pitches right on the hands to sometimes even keep them fair down the left field side.
He really has. Pretty impressive stuff. He's going to get challenged every now and then, and we talked about how he hasn't really shown a weakness yet. Elias is having a pretty good night, keeping him off balance, and we've seen some swing and misses. But granted, we've seen him in 0-2 counts with fastballs on the inner third. Turn on him.
Line shot to center field. Jackson came in and then had to go back to make the play. Correa stings it, but that does it for the Astros in the 5th inning. They get a double and a hit batter, leave a pair. 3-1 Seattle.
over the Astros. Follow the Astros all season with MLB.com At Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. At Bat is up to the moment with in-game highlights, live look-ins, replay reviews, radio broadcasts, StatCast, and more. Get MLB.com At Bat for your smartphone or tablet.
Lance McCullers starts things here in the bottom of the 5th inning. Trailing 3-1. One of the runs unearned against him. 76 pitches. And now 1-1 on Austin Jackson. He's the 2-hitter. He'll be followed by Robinson Cano and Nelson Cruz. Breaking ball. McCullers has had a tough time throwing it for a called strike tonight. Fastball up out of the zone, but Jackson can't lay off. 2-2 the count. 6 strikeouts for McCullers. Elias has picked up 7 already. Drive to right field, and that's deep. Going back, Domingo Santana makes a nice running grab as he got to the warning track. That's a tough play.
It was a tough play, but it looked like Willie Mays Hayes made a heck of a basket catch on that one. Domingo. It's a big ballpark. There's a lot of green pasture out there. Did a good job chasing that down. Got a little lost, but ended up making the play.
Willie Mays Hayes and Star Wars all in one night here in Seattle, huh?
What more could you ask for? Ooh, your pitcher's going to be awfully happy with you.
You could see McCullers was just waiting to see what was going to happen. 1 out. Robinson Cano at the plate. Cano has reached on an error that committed by Marwin Gonzalez, and then had an infield single. Marwin stopped that ball, headed towards center field, a diving stop, and now Cano has his 2nd hit on the night as he lines one to right. Well, Robinson Cano starts the night with numbers that were not attractive, and yet putting it together. You have to go back 4 games for Cano to have a couple of hits.
What a great sign. Robinson Kenobi over there at first base.
Good stuff. Nelson Cruz at the plate has walked and singled. That single, just as we've talked about it, one of those bouncers that found the hole on the left side. One of a pair of those that came in the 3rd inning. 2-0 the count. For Nelson Cruz, the batting average at .312. Again, yanking that fastball. 3-0 the count. Tough spot now if you have to come back in with the heat.
Well, we talked about how Steve Sparks gave us some input on what happens to the mechanics sometimes when you're missing arm side. When you turn around and yank one, it may be overcompensating for that.
And a 4-pitch walk. So McCullers struggling. That's his first walk since the 1st inning. But he walked a pair in that frame. So 3 walks now from McCullers. 1 out, and it took a fine play by Domingo Santana to get that out here to start the inning as Brent Strom comes out to the mound.
Get some action in that Astros bullpen. It's like Will Harris maybe getting loose out there.
86 pitches now. And McCullers is in a spot where he can go 100 to 110.
And he's got the build for it, too.
Yeah.
You know, he's a young, strong kid. And I think a lot of scouts and a lot of pitching coaches look at the build of a guy, you know, the nice wide shoulders, but his lower half is strong. That tells you he can maybe extend himself a little bit in these games and go a little bit longer because that lower half is so strong.
You know, he was listed at 6'2", but we were all a little surprised to see him when he made it to the big leagues. But there's nothing small about him when his game starts.
Yeah.
So Cano and Cruz aboard. It brings up Kyle Seager.
There you go. Will Harris out there getting loose.
Harris, or rather Seager, has struck out a pair of times tonight. There's that breaking ball for the called strike. That has been elusive.
Except when Kyle Seager is up there.
That's right. He struck out on the breaking ball the first time. And was it that same breaking ball the second time? I believe so. Line shot. That's a base hit. Cano comes around to score. Strong throw from Santana. And they still don't get their man. Runners at first and third, a run in. It's 4-1 Seattle. And Lance McCullers having maybe his first taste of a bit of a rough go now.
I think Julia hinted at it. Maybe hitters do have advantages, but Elias took a beating out there in Minute Maid. The offense for the Astros is scuffling against him, but in turn, the Seattle Mariners offense is having much better at bats against Lance McCullers and taking advantage of some of the counts they're in and some of the mistakes.
How about a comment on this throw from Domingo Santana?
It was a bit of a laser beam to third.
By the way, A.J. Hinch coming out, so that's going to do it for Lance McCullers. He works an out into the fifth inning. Seattle has put 4 on the board. And now Will Harris will come in and try to lock it down here in the fifth inning. And Lance McCullers looking A.J. right in the eyes as he gets the word. So an early exit for Lance McCullers. Not anticipated, but 4-1 Seattle. As the Astros go to the bullpen, our AT&T call to the bullpen brings on Will Harris.
Some pretty good numbers from Will Harris. Still going strong. Nice addition in that bullpen. Last time he pitched was back at Minute Maid Park on the 16th. Winning inning and a third. Gave up 2 hits, punched out 2. He got the win in that game. Number 3.
Safeco Field. It's been a gorgeous afternoon and evening. A few clouds rolling in. Seattle on top 4-1. Cano has scored after a 1-out single. Nelson Cruz drew a walk. He's at third base. Kyle Seager at first with that RBI single. It brings up Mark Trumbo. For Seager, that was RBI number 37. A.J. Hinch probably going to chat with Lance McCullers for a while.
Which is awesome. That communication that A.J. has with these players has been great.
Isn't he the best?
He's not afraid of it, which is beautiful. I think this is a great mix in that clubhouse for him to be able to manage.
Some of the best managing that I've seen him do, and you're not in a the clubhouse all the time. I'm not. But watching him on the plane with a team that has lost some ball games and just how he has dealt with that club that's trying to have some fun. And well, he is really good keeping it loose with the guys.
I couldn't agree more.
Ball and a strike on Trumbo. 2 RBIs on the night for Trumbo. Numbers 2 and 3 as a Mariner. The Astros could use a double play right about here. And what a find Will Harris has been. This guy has been spectacular coming out of the pen. A bullpen that continues to pitch well, second best in the American League in terms of that group ERA. Fastball hit late by Trumbo, fouled on the first base side. Stays at 1-2.
Swing of desperation, fight it off.
Yeah, you call it 9-1-1 all the time. And
oh yeah.
Players always have their terms as to what they're going to use on different swings, different throws.
It's that emergency hack. It's on that borderline. You're not sure if it's going to be a strike or not. Just get a piece. Live to fight another pitch.
Fastball grounded right side. Marwin can't get an out at second base. As a run scores, they get the out at first. And so a third RBI on the night for Mark Trumbo. And Seattle enjoys a 5-1 lead.
We could go to highlights and watch every hit and every time they've scored a run and seen the location on some of these ground balls these guys have hit, because they haven't hit the ball that hard, but just the placement on where they're putting these things, not allowing the Astros to turn that double play. You can see how disappointed Will Harris is. He hits at 3 or 4 feet closer to Marwin. That's a double play because Trumbo doesn't run that well.
Yeah, it's Star Wars night, but I would say it's placement night for the M's.
They're doing a great job of locating their ground balls. A couple of seeing eye hits have led to runs.
Yep. 2 outs for Seth Smith, who takes as the pitch misses. Shift on for the left-hand hitter. We mentioned earlier that the Texas Rangers have picked up a win today against the White Sox, 2-1, beating the White Sox. Chris Sale did not take the loss, but great numbers. 2-hit ball through 8 innings and 14 strikeouts, and can't pick up the win. And what is Lance McCullers having to say? Bluff from Conger.
Seager's out there at second base getting a pretty good lead. It could be, AJ could be explaining that there are actually 3 Star Wars movies that were made before he was born that maybe Lance McCullers didn't know about.
You are more insightful than I ever imagined you could be. What do you call it? That's not a sequel. That's not a
prequel.
No, it's not. See, even I am going to say no to that. It's a threequel.
Yeah, hey,
okay.
I'm buying. No, now you see, Luke Skywalker is actually Darth Vader's son.
Who does McCullers play in that movie? High fly ball center field. We'll never find out. He's wearing a mask. As coming on to make the play is George Springer. That'll do it. But another couple of runs for Seattle through 5. They lead it 5-1. Remaining games on this road trip, 3 more to follow in Anaheim. The Astros trying to get something going now with the bats as we go to the 6th inning. 3-4-5 coming up. Preston Tucker leads it off. The only Houston run came on pitch number 1 of the night. George Springer launched his 11th on the year.
It's a beautiful kid. Enjoying some baseball and French fries.
She's not theme dressed though. It's Star Wars night.
It was the best French fry ever.
Preston Tucker has a good swing and fouls it back. Defense is aligned straight up against Tucker. And now 0-2. There's that big breaking ball.
Tough location on that, too. Down in the zone.
'88 pitches on the night for Lance McCullers.
How about, just for a thought, Lance McCullers, Vincent Velasquez, guys who have pitched in the minor leagues. In the minor leagues, as you look at Roberto Hernandez getting loose in the bullpen, they don't pitch into September normally. This will be the first season, if they stick on this roster, where they will pitch into September. Is there maybe not a cause for concern, but is there a concerted effort on AJ's part to try and maybe limit innings somehow, some way, or limit the amount of pitches they're throwing?
Whenever possible.
Yeah, whenever possible, because if they do get into a pennant chase situation where they can stretch these guys out and use them in September, is there a thought process behind that? Possibly.
You know what? I think you nailed it, actually. Preston Tucker down on strike. Second time for him tonight. That's 8 now for Elias. And I would say, I would just about wager that that's exactly what's going through the mind of A.J. Hinch. Look, it's not happening right now. No need for you to go to 110 pitches, and let's limit what you're doing. It's really intriguing to watch.
I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. I'm not, because they're. I think that would be a decent conversation to have.
I think it is. Evan Gattis hits a fly ball to center field. Second out of the inning. I would go with that. I really, and that's been part of the conversation, but I don't think Lance McCullers, for the moment, is buying in. But he's
a competitor too.
Yes, he is.
It's going to be tough to explain to a young man like this, who's on a winning team in first place, and to be able to understand that right now.
I wonder if come September he might see the wisdom. And we were talking with Steve Sparks, a knuckleball pitcher, who talked about how first time he got to September, how difficult it was on him and other pitchers. And so we'll see if it all winds up paying dividends. Chris Carter at the plate is 1 for 2. He's picked up 1 of the 8 strikeouts tonight. Elias has really had that breaking ball you've talked about.
Showing great command with it. And just looking at some of the statistics saying how many pitches he threw last time, it's kind of a skewed look at it because he got beat up in Minute Maid.
That home run back in the first inning by George Springer, number 98 for the Major League leading team in that regard. The Astros lead the American League in stolen bases. They haven't had base runners tonight, quite frankly, once they got through the first inning.
Yeah.
Got a 2-out double from Marwin Gonzalez in the 5th inning. George Springer was then hit by a pitch. Correa stung it as he lined to center field to end the inning. And Carter down on strike. Second time tonight. That's 9 for Elias. And through 5.5, Seattle having it their way, 5-1.
Jack in the Box, taking us inside the box score here. And we're looking at the Astros bullpen versus the Mariners and how great they've been against this Ends team this year. But you can see the difference with the Mariners against the Astros. Talking about bullpens here, Astros 4-0. The ERA under 1 there. 173 opponent average. This bullpen has been so good for this Astros club this year. We did see him struggle a little bit here recently on that last road trip. Will Harris, who we just saw for the Astros, told me that together they put a lot more focus. They knew they would eventually come out of it, just the way that they've had the experience, and they felt good about what they were able to do as far as get out of that little funk they were in. Feeling much better here recently, guys.
Thanks, Julia. The Astros are going to have to find a way to get those bats feeling good here. The remainder of this ball game, trailing 5-1, as now Roberto Hernandez comes in.
Working out of that long man spot. Might be a situation where he goes multiple innings here in this game. 4 shutout innings against these Mariners. He had 5 strikeouts in that outing also last Saturday.
8-hitter Brad Miller at the plate. He'll be followed by Mike Zunino and Logan Morrison. Lance McCullers 4 1/3 innings, 6 hits, 5 runs, just 3 of them earned. Not sure that's right. 6 strikeouts on the night. And now 3-0 the count. Hernandez falls behind right away. McCullers' stuff was great this evening, just in terms of pure stuff, but the location wasn't there. And 4 pitches for the walk. So heading down to first base is Brad Miller. That's the 4th walk issued to Mariners hitters tonight. Mike Zunino stands in. 0 for 2 with a couple of strikeouts.
Well, we talked about how the Mariners' approach maybe against Lance McCullers was to take some more pitches, force him out of this game. You'd have to say right now it was pretty effective.
As it worked out, it certainly was.
I mean, they didn't hit him hard by any means, but the fact that he's not in the ball game with a couple more innings to go here is what they wanted.
On the other side, Roenis Elias, 6 innings of 3 hit ball, 1 run on the Springer dinger, and 9 strikeouts tonight. And he's been effective, just 80 pitches.
He's looking real good.
Ground ball is foul off the bat of Zunino. The Atlanta Braves defeated the Mets. You notice the Mets are in first place in the National League East.
Yeah, there's a lot of prognosticators that are looking at the standings right now going, oh man, I blew this one. Mets, Rays, Astros, Minnesota Twins, playing all really good baseball.
Twins are 3.5 back of KC at the top of the American League Central. Runner goes. The pitch is swing and a miss. The throwdown not nearly in time. And a stolen base for Brad Miller. For Miller, that's his 6th bag on the year in 7 tries.
See if he gets a good jump. Not bad. High leg kick from Roberto Hernandez made it equally as tough for Hank Conger to throw down there.
1 ball and 2 strikes on Zunino. Don't know if that was a hit and run, but it was a good jump at first base.
It was a pretty darn good jump for a hit and run situation, but
Zunino down on strikes 3rd time tonight.
Did you notice how Miller was running to second base, didn't look in?
Yeah, which in a lot of cases would indicate a straight steal, and he may have been running it, and the more likely scenario in today's game is running on the green light.
Yeah, with a 5-1 lead, go ahead and try and take advantage of that matchup of Roberto Hernandez and Hank Conger. Zunino's a high strikeout guy, so it might be a lot to ask him to make contact on that hit and run.
7 strikeouts now of Mariners hitters. First pitch on Morrison, in for a strike. So Atlanta down the Mets 2-1. Milwaukee has a big night in Colorado, 9-5. They down the drowning right now Colorado Rockies. They are struggling.
It's got to be at least 5 in a row that we know of.
Yep. 4 straight against Houston, no doubt. Colorado, yes, you're right, 5 in a row they've lost. Their home record is now 13-21.
Wow.
Of course, these Seattle Mariners have had a rough go at home. 14-20 here at Safeco Field. They're a game under 500 on the road. They're playing right here in this gorgeous ballpark. The Mariners have not been good. Lloyd McClendon knows all about it, and you try everything you can as a manager.
Tell you what, that guy right there would like to see the Mariners turn things around a little bit.
A team that went out, spent a lot of money, brought in Nelson Cruz to back up Robinson Cano, a signing prior to last year. They bring in Austin Jackson, now Mark Trumbo. They thought they had something ready to happen this year.
Well, early on, it looked like they really did. But I don't think their bullpen this year is not matching the numbers either that they put up last year. They were fantastic at the end of ball games last year.
So they thought they had that part of the game kind of
Figured
locked
out,
up. Yeah. So it really proves to you, just because, for example, this year the Astros bullpen has been great. You don't just keep everybody, don't add anything, don't tweak anything and expect things to be great again. There's a drive to left center field. Springer going back. He's on the track and makes a nice running grab. Tagging at second and moving to third is Brad Miller. So 2 down, a man at third base for Austin Jackson.
Good play by George. Hasn't had much time to go running around out there in center field. Put him in this big ballpark. It shows you he's got some range.
We saw enough of that last year. I know he can go get it with anybody.
And again, you got to give a little bit of credit to the Astros defensive coordinator down there in the dugout, putting these guys in position to go out there and show off the talent and make these plays.
So Jackson at the plate. He's walked and scored in the first inning. Since then, 0 for 2. A couple of nice plays against him. One from Domingo Santana. Nice running grab at the warning track and right. Change up at the knees. 0-1 the count. The Boston Red Sox defeated Kansas City in KC. So the American League All-Star squad did not play well today. Ball and a strike. Waiting on deck is Robinson Cano.
Kansas City's a great story. They play really well together. They've got such a nice cohesive unit. And again, that bullpen, they're almost shortening. We saw a game the other day where the starter comes out in the 4th inning. They shut it down the rest of the way. It's pretty incredible stuff.
KC with a loss today at 38-26. Little tapper left side. Valbuena makes the play on the run. Nicely done to get Jackson. And that does it for the Mariners in the 6th inning. They leave a man at third. It's 5-1 Seattle.
The Astros in this inning. What a big moment for this guy yesterday. He had his first major league home run. It was a pinch hit home run, and it was in the 8th. A big moment, though, as it broke open the game against the Colorado Rockies. And AJ said just to come off the bench like he did, open up the game like that, got to gain some confidence from a swing like that. And Domingo, after the game, told me that he felt like he was flying around the bases. Such a good feeling. The team very happy for Domingo Santana right now.
Thanks, Julia. And Domingo Santana leads off here in the 7th inning. The Astros need some offense right about now. Trailing at 5-1. It's Santana, Conger, and Valbuena due up here in the inning. And Roenis Elias has really started breezing after the first inning this evening. 1 hit since. Minnesota 7-2 winner over the Cubs. Both those clubs have played well this year. Elias with a 1-2 count. Santana has struck out looking and grounded out. And down on the breaking ball. That's 10 strikeouts for Astros hitters. And they just continue to go double digits in the strikeout column.
That actually ties a career high, but look at that upper left. Elias actually gets better the further he gets in these lineups. You don't see that too often. You saw him go out and attack Elias early, which led to some of those big numbers in the first inning. But if he stays out there long enough, he gets a ton better. But the 10 strikeouts you said, Ash, ties a career high that he got last year, May 1st, 2014, against the Yankees
at New York. So Hank Conger is 0 for 2 with a strikeout. He has a 1-1 count. And the Yankees tonight defeated Detroit 7-2. Conger hits it in the air, not deep in left center field, and just about colliding Smith and Jackson as Smith makes the play. 2 down in the 7th. That'll bring up Luis Valbuena. A couple of strikeouts and 2 at-bats. Valbuena now hitting 183, but he leads the team in home runs with 16. 30 RBIs on the year. He is just 3 back of the American League lead for home runs. And it's Albert Pujols who has the 19. Two and 1 now. Marwin Gonzalez waits on deck. Jose Altuve just apparently not ready to play yet. Popped up. It's Cano with the call. He'll make the catch. A 1-2-3 7th inning. That's 7 in a row again, now retired by Elias. 5-1 Seattle.
24th through the 28th. For tickets, call 1-877-9-ASTROS or visit astros.com. Check this out. Star Wars night at Safeco Field. It is. I've got everyone here. This is great. They had a costume contest, and then, of course, fans can get in line and take pictures with these guys. I know Blemmer is a huge fan. Chewy, our broadcaster, big fan. He says hello. You got anything back for him? Back to you.
Thanks, Yoda.
Oh, that is awesome. Oh, not only did she throw in the Yoda, but
Okay,
Chewbacca said hello to me.
That's
It's a big
nice.
night.
Are you going to be able to sleep?
Oh, am I? I'm going to have to get this downloaded to my phone so I can watch it.
We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. 5-1 Seattle leads it. Robinson Cano at the plate. He's 2 for 3, and he's reached all 3 times tonight, once on an error. He's had an infield single and a solid single to right. Julia mentioned the 4 coming up against the Yankees at Minute Maid Park. They'll be followed by Kansas City for 3. And those will be the last games played at Minute Maid Park prior to the All-Star break. Line shot down the right field side. A 3rd hit of the night. Extra bases as Cano digs it in. So Robinson Cano had not been swinging it well at all. And yet 3 hits tonight. He's at second as he leads off the 7th. It brings up Nelson Cruz.
Yeah, somebody's getting locked in again. 3rd hit on the night for Robinson Kenobi. But man, he's never been one of those guys that's not going to miss a mistake. And there's been a couple pitches left up in the zone, especially that last one from Hernandez that he just hammered.
Bring up Nelson Cruz. Cruz has walked twice. He has singled and scored a run, driven in a run, so he's been a big part of the offensive goings for Seattle this evening. Changeup has been good from Roberto.
That is the first time that Robinson Cano has had 3 hits in a game since May 9th.
Coming against the Oakland A's. How about that? And
it's kind of a long stretch for a guy like that.
You know, and we looked up at the board tonight and saw 235-ish for Cano to start play. I would take at the start of the year 335 if you told me, but not 235.
Well, I would have believed 335 before 235 for sure. Coming into this game, this season, Cano was hitting 289 against the Astros.
Two balls and a strike now. Roberto Hernandez, that guy that has fallen into the long role for the Astros. And it means pitching in games like this when you're down and trying to keep it there and give the offense a chance. Got that changeup grip again. He misses low. 3-1. Kyle Seager waits on deck. St. Louis Cardinals in Philadelphia beat the Phillies 12-4. Shot center field. That's a base hit. Cano froze a moment and has to stay at third base. Good strong throw down from George Springer. So back-to-back hits, runners at the corners, nobody out for Seager. What did we have going on in Philadelphia tonight?
Whoa, spider squirrel. Watch out.
Well, it seemed to be a little bit frenetic.
Oh, did it just fall off? Cruz in the dugout, and watch out below. He is on the attack of a Philadelphia Philly or two. That was incredible.
It's one of the best rallies the Phils have had in their dugout for a while. Phillies have not had a good year this year. 23-45 at the start of play today. 13 games back of the New York Mets.
See what Cole Hamels did the other day? He missed a start and then packed up his locker and sent everybody in the Philadelphia media into a tizzy.
All is a joke.
Yep.
Pop fly shallow in left field. Tucker with a long run, and he'll make the play. Runners hold at first and third. You look at what things are doing in the National League East.
Some interesting times out there. It'll be interesting to see how the Nationals cope without having Bryce Harper in their lineup for a little bit.
How long is he expected out now?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen the official word.
Yeah, it's a hamstring tweak, I think.
They're hoping it's only just a tweak.
Mark Trumbo at the plate has driven in 3 tonight with a base hit in 3 at bats. This might be awakening night for Mark Trumbo. The Astros put a run on the board in the first inning as Springer led off with a long ball. But it's been all Seattle since. They picked up 2 in the first, 1 in the third, 2 more in the 5th. Washington Nationals defeat Pittsburgh 4-1. Toronto downs Baltimore 5-4. That American League East could get really interesting this year. Ground ball off the hands. They'll try to get 2. Valbuena, Margot, and on to Carter, and they get the double play first on the night, and that'll do it for Seattle in the 7th inning. It's now 5-1 Mariners.
'18-year-old Alex Rodriguez makes his debut for Seattle in 1994, collecting 10 hits in his first 10 big league games. The #1 overall pick in 1993 struggles in limited action through his first 2 seasons, before finally becoming an all-star in 1996 at the age of 20. Just collected his 3,000th hit on a home run to right field at Yankee Stadium.
Who's that guy that early A-Rod remind you of?
If I had to guess, 6'4", lanky frame, plays shortstop, shows signs of pop.
Strong in the legs, yeah. There's a line shot off the bat of Marwin Gonzalez that goes foul.
Nancy just let some fans down out there. She made a great play in a carom earlier, but this line drive eluded her.
You got very high expectations.
She made a great play in the 2nd or 3rd inning. How did she not make that? She got the great Kazoo's helmet on.
helmet appeared to be just a bit large, didn't it?
I don't think it allowed her to get fully extended for the grab.
Roenis Elias working into the 8th inning. Marwin Gonzalez has doubled in 2 at-bats, his 11th on the year. Young left-hander has been really good. First pitch of the night sailed out of here off the bat of George Springer, and that's been it.
Might have made him mad too early.
You know, that first inning with 2 outs, he hit Evan Gattis. Chris Carter had a base hit. Looked like the Astros offense was right in full gear right away.
Thought it was just going to be another typical night here at Safeco Field for the Astros offense.
Since then, George Springer has been hit by a pitch and Marwin has doubled. And those are the only base runners from the 2nd inning on.
Pretty good take by Marwin Gonzalez on that changeup.
See him stick his nose right on it. Hit in the air, left center field and deep. This one back at the track at the wall. And that one is out of here. Marwin Gonzalez. Some tremendous pop as he launches one and puts the Astros on the board again. It's now 5-2 Seattle.
My goodness, that'll provide a little bit of spark maybe for the Houston Astros offense. All they do is come into Safeco Field and hit bombs. That's now number 23 against these Seattle Mariners just this season. But we saw Marwin take a good high fastball, go to that right center field gap. Now he gets one middle and absolutely crushes it. That's not an easy part of this ballpark to launch from. Or launch into, I should say.
For Marwin, that's number 4 on the year. That's going to do it for Elias as the skip Lloyd McClendon goes out there. And the fans in Seattle, most of them rise to their feet in appreciation. Well, the Mariners go to the bullpen. We'll be right back. As the Mariners go to the bullpen, they bring in right-hander Mark Lowe, 32 years of age. And he went to school, high school rather, in Fort Bend, right there in Houston, Sugar Land area. Well, good to see one of the locals doing well in his 19th appearance on the year now for the Mariners.
Time now for our TXU Power Player of the Game. George Springer, that first pitch of the game, didn't waste much time. Saw what he liked early, was nice and loose, and unloaded on that fastball from Elias. Getting some love in that dugout, but that's what that man can do out of that leadoff spot. He's got the pop.
Takes an off-speed pitch inside. Springer's 1 for 2. He's also been hit by a pitch and hitting .279. Numbers are starting to shape up nicely for George. Played a great outfield. in Colorado made a couple of very nice diving plays. Almost grow to expect that from George Springer.
We're finally in that Seattle Mariner bullpen. Not quite what they were last year.
Just 4 hits for Houston on the night. Springer has a 1-2 count here in the 8th. Carlos Correa waits on deck. Preston Tucker will follow. And Charlie Furbush now loosening in the pen for Seattle.
Oh, there's my boy.
Low comes set and brings the 1-2. And gets Springer on strikes. That's 11 strikeouts now of Astros hitters. 1 out here in the inning. We're turning back to when A-Rod was a Mariner.
Spent 7 seasons here in Seattle, and we talked about when he came up. 94-95 when he was a rookie. That second year, he only played 65 total games. So give you an idea about those numbers. He had 224 in those first 2 seasons. Still able to put up some massive numbers, but it also makes you appreciate what a young Carlos Correa is doing for these Houston Astros. Similar expectation levels, and Correa is stepping up and making it happen.
Fastball in for a strike on Carlos. He's 0 for 3 on the night.
Wow.
Most hits in those first 10 games. Carlos Correa is the man at the moment. That's in Astros history.
Those guys, all those guys on that list have pretty much continued on and have relatively great careers.
Have they ever? Correa, however, is going to be 0 for 4 on this ground out. 2 down in the inning. It'll bring up Preston Tucker. The first time I met Carlos Correa, I think it was 2 springs back now, I was hit with young Alex Rodriguez. Again, you mentioned the 6'4", slender, athletic build. Just looked like a player standing in front of you.
But just I don't know how to explain it. When you hang around the game long enough, and there's fans out there that have watched a ton of baseball, but you and I, having been on the stage with some of these guys, just the fluidity in his motion and the natural way he goes about playing the game and making some of these hard plays look routine, or some of these tough pitches hit him out of the ballpark, is just really impressive to watch.
The line shot is just foul off the bat of Preston Tucker. Well, I don't think you go out on a limb at all when you're talking about Carlos Correa and saying this guy's going to be a really good player. Yeah. And you may be shortchanging him in that statement.
Well, you want to protect him a little bit.
Yeah.
You're playing on the greatest stage of baseball. This is it. This is the pinnacle. And now these guys are going to be attacking him and trying to figure out how to beat him. So there's going to be some ups and downs. But I agree. He has the opportunity and the tools to be great.
By the way, Mark Lowe on the hill has been in the big league since 2006, 10 years now. And he's kept a nice ERA on his career at 3.95. Fastball finds the inside edge, 95 miles an hour.
He throws hard. 2-pitch pitcher, fastball slider, comes right at you.
Guy that's never really had a chance to be a closer, has 5 saves on his career. Good high heat, 97 blown on by. Couple of strikeouts for Lowe as he comes on, and that does it in the 8th. They get a run on the home run by Marwin.
was a rough night for Lance McCullers, able to snag that one, make the play, and then this one right here, things could have gotten really ugly early, but about Buena with the leaping grab. And again, some good defense popping up behind Lance McCullers' outing. Tough route for Domingo going out there in right field. Unknown territory, ran it down nicely, making that basket catch.
So 5-2, Seattle leads it. They've doubled the Astros in hits, and the Astros with the only error on the night. 7, 8, 9 coming up for Seattle here in the 8th inning. Seth Smith starts things, taking a strike. So even when you take, you have to fix the batting gloves again, huh?
Yeah, will extend your TV time.
See.
You weren't very ritualistic.
You know what? I tried so hard to not do superstitious things. So then you have to start not doing what you did the time before, and therefore it becomes superstitious in its own nature. Yeah. I just hated it. Ground ball back to the mound. Smith will be thrown out number 1.
I think it's got to be hard as a catcher. You're back there, you get to see every guy in the lineup go through their routine.
Yeah, some had routines that were a little less tolerable than others. And there were some moments. Brad Miller will stand in. Has walked and stolen a base.
Were you the catcher that would scream, "Get in the box, meat"?
It happened once, at least. High fly ball left center field. George Springer says, "I've got it." And that's 2 outs quickly here in the 8th inning. It brings up the catcher, Mike Zunino.
Looking for games on certain days of the week with giveaways, your favorite rivalries, or maybe a little of each. With the Astros 14-game flex plan, you get to pick the games and seat locations that work best for you. Purchase your 14-game flex plan today by visiting astros.com/tickets or calling 1-877-9-ASTROS.
Zunino has struck out all 3 plate appearances tonight. And there's not a whole lot of fluke about it, hitting 161. Does have 7 home runs. He's a dangerous hitter. A changeup in the dirt.
Wow. Could that be worse timing?
Get it loose.
Well, it's just, if you're the casual fan at home, it probably raises all kinds of questions. What is that? Why is he putting it on there? Is he going to put it on the baseball? But for me and you, it might be a little bit of heat bomb getting on that shoulder to get that thing loose.
Yeah, the thing is, he used his right hand to put it on there. So now right hand goes to, oh, was it left? That's right, left hand. Gotcha.
But still, you rub it up and down that elbow. Some might say, oh, he's going to put it on the baseball, but I highly doubt that.
High chopper to third. That'll do it for the M's. A 1-2-3 8th inning. We go to the 9th in a 5-2 lead for Seattle. Your low fare now at southwest.com. And by Jack in the Box. Try the new Double Jack today. Only at Jack in the Box. Astros fans waiting for the eruption. We're in the 9th inning. No better time. Evan Gattis will lead it off, followed by Chris Carter and Domingo Santana. 4, 5, 6 in the order. Oh, we've got a representation of a lot of the unis here this evening.
I am digging that. That was great.
So Seattle brings on another right-hander out of the bullpen. Carson Smith comes in to close it down.
And yes, Fernando Rodney is still on the roster and still in that bullpen for the Seattle Mariners. Taking a bit of a hiatus right now with the numbers not being so great, so it's Carson Smith. He's got 3 saves and 4 opportunities so far. Low ERA, low batting average against, and that high strikeout to walk ratio is nice. He's actually faced the Astros 5 times this year, taking the loss in one of them. And we know the Astros like to score a lot of runs late in games. 7th inning on, they're pretty good. Might be a guy they can take advantage of. Fastball at 93 miles an hour. There's Fernando.
A couple of other changes defensively for Seattle. Dustin Ackley is now in left field, and in right field it's James Jones. So Evan Gattis tries to get something started, taking a strike. Mark Lowe came in, picked up a shutout inning with a couple of punch outs. Smith, pitcher number 3 on the night for the M's. Gattis hitting .229. He's been hit by a pitch to start the night. Since then 0 for 2. Shatters his bat, hits a slow roller to short. And that strong arm of Miller able to get the out. Number 1 here in the 9th.
Full disintegration on that handle. Yeah, make sure you pick up the right object coming at you.
Well, that bat for Evan Gattis at times has done some serious exploding this year.
It's pretty nasty when you can throw a saw blade up there and cut that thing directly in half, huh? My goodness.
That it is. Chris Carter now 1 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts. Slinging heater at 95. Carter hits it on the ground. It's Seager. He'll take his time. And 2 down on ground balls now in the 9th inning.
This pitching performance will be brought to you by Kubota. And it's Roenis Elias. Got smashed out there in Minute Maid Park, but he has made the adjustment. Granted, he gave up that first pitch bomb to George Springer, but from there on out, he did a fantastic job. 3-pitch mix coming at you, fastball topping out about 94 miles an hour. But what we saw was great command of a changeup and a filthy slider putting guys away. 10 strikeouts on the night, matching a career high he got against the New York Yankees.
Well, he turned things around after the first inning. And now it's Colby Rasmus pinch hitting for Domingo Santana. Colby fresh back with the club today. Missed a few days with his grandmother passing. Down to the last out. And a 1-1 count on Rasmus. Very nice crowd in Seattle this evening. They've got fireworks coming up after the game. Colby now with a 1-2 count.
Tell you what, Smith has a tough arm angle. Yeah, 95 miles an hour. Pulled the string on that changeup right there.
And now down to that last strike for the Astros. The Mariners apparently felt they just could not go with their closer any longer. Fernando Rodney, who does have 14 saves on the year. Smith trying to pick up his fourth. And now a 3-2 count. Should Colby reach, it's Hank Conger waiting on deck. And it could get fun. Valbuena would then follow. Strike 3 called, caught looking Colby Rasmus, and that does it. So the Seattle Mariners, who had lost 8 of 10 against the Astros on the season, start this 3-game series by winning a 5-2 final. Seattle picks it up.